Good evening, everyone. Gavin here tonight. Unfortunately, our Keith, my co-host, is a little bit under the weather, so it'll just be my ugly face on screen today. And yeah, welcome, guys. Welcome to the Reptile Podcast. This is now, I think it's our fourth one and our first international guest. It's Joe from Tully's out Regius Reptiles. It's a absolutely awesome guy, and he's got a fantastically nice collection. Like he always says, not the biggest collection, but it's a quality collection. So yeah, hopefully it's going to be a good one. And this is my first time running the thing on running it solo. So let's see how it goes. And yeah, as per normal, if anyone has any questions, pop them in the comments, and yeah, we'll bring them in and we'll speak to Joe and yeah, try and answer some of your questions. So right, guys, all the way from the UK, please welcome Joe. Joe,
Hello,
how's it
Gav.
going, my friend? How's it going, my bud?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm happy to
Good.
be on. I'm very excited.
There we go. That's a bit better. That's awesome. Thanks very much. I mean, yeah, our previous guest he dropped us for a second time now, so it's nice to we sent out the SOS and you took it up for us. We really appreciate it from myself and from Keith. We highly appreciate it.
No worries. No worries.
Fantastic. So for the guys, I mean, our channel is predominantly South African. Not many South Africans are going to know who you are. So who are you? Where are you based? And yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, like I said, and you can probably see it on screen, I'm Joe Tully, founder of Tully's Outrageous Royals. I am into my 8th season of breeding now. I hold a very small collection, which I've grown over the years, and I've become immensely proud of.
That's awesome.
It started really small 8 years ago. I started with a normal to a Mojave pairing, which sounds really funny now. And then I developed that to produce some of the Mojave gene, especially, was one of the genes that I really liked from the off, and I still have a space in my heart for that gene now.
Yeah.
And I wanted to produce a bell, and I pushed along, made my own female first, and then eventually produced a bell that you can see behind me on the logo now. And
Yeah.
from then on, I branched out into other projects, and just really worked with the genes that I like. That has changed over the years, but Pied has always been one. I've grown to really love hypo over the
Yes.
years, which I know is a gene that you really like as well.
That's why I think we're going to get on fantastically here this evening. Pied and
Yeah,
hyper. I mean, we can just talk for the next 5 hours about that.
yeah. I've had the opportunity to get into a really exciting project as well, which is the Burgundy Pieds.
Okay.
Burgundy is another line of Ultramel. It's the VPI line of
Okay.
Ultramel. Really breathtaking animal, the visual, and the opportunity to get into the project sort of fell into my lap last season from another breeder who was getting out,
Mhm.
and the female. So I have a female pied, possible het for Burgundy, but I'm not worried about the possible het because I can see the influence in her. The male is a Burgundy possible het pied. I have been pairing him to her, but she's not gone yet, and
Okay.
I've paired that male to another Enchi het pied female. No pieds out of it, so it was only 7 eggs, so it's not definitive. He could still be carrying the pied trait, but
Yeah.
more data on that one, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to keep pushing.
That Burgundy now, if you compare it to the Ultramal,
Yep.
and then what's the other one, the Monarch? I mean,
Yes.
where does that fall in there? Do you think if would you be able to pick the Burgundy out of an Ultramal or?
I can't say I could. I have one visual male Burgundy, and I have never worked with Ultramel, so I don't know. Um, my opinion is probably slightly biased because I do think that they are slightly different. But I know a lot of other breeders will say no, it's the same gene, just a different line.
Just different line.
Um,
Okay. No, we don't have. I don't think we have any burgundy stuff here. And I've only recently seen a few things pop up online with it. I mean, so I'm not overly familiar with it, but it's. I mean, I think you did have one or two on your Instagram, if I remember correctly. I think it was your one I saw, and they're very nice. I really like them.
Yeah, I
Very
like
cool.
it as well. I like that it's a little bit different to Ultramel, because Ultramel's such a fantastic gene. Everyone's working it, and I like just to work something a little bit different. I do, from the pictures that I've seen, I do sort of see differences in it, but I think that might be because I want to see differences in it. And I sort of see it sort of directly between, like it's a bit of a mix of both the Monarch and the Ultramel, leaning more towards the Ultramel side.
Is the burgundy compatible with Ultramel? Or?
It is, yeah.
Is it
proven allelic?
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Well, that's good then. So yeah, what other interesting things are you working on? I mean, you say you do quite a bit of pied stuff and your hyper stuff. Is there anything? We'll get to that just now. But is there anything else?
So
very cool.
A couple of. I think so, yeah. There's a couple of things in the making that haven't come into fruition yet. Next season, I was hoping for, but the female in question, how she's gone on this season, it might be a bit of a stretch. So she is a vanilla leopard het clown, and I have the male to put to her, which is a visual clown, which is Enchi Fire clown. So vanilla cream clowns with the possibility of getting leopard and Enchi in the mix, which are both, really strong pattern influencing genes. Yeah. So I'm excited to see what that does. Not many people. So I know I've seen on the live streams before. You are not a big fan of clown, and
I can. It's not what I like. That's the thing.
I think I can sense the hipster in you, because I was exactly the same. Like when I sort of been breeding 3-4 years, and I was looking at clown, and I can see the potential, but I'm just like, I'm really not feeling it. Yeah. I'm not feeling it, and I sort of grew into it over time, and I had to find something that was different with clown, not work everything that other breed. Like I don't want to chase Pompeys, even though the Pompey is an absolutely amazing animal. I didn't want to chase that because everyone else was chasing it, and the same with the Batman. And now everyone's pushing the Desert Ghost on it. So once I found my lane with clown, then I fell in love with it straight away, and I knew where I wanted to take it. I knew what I wanted to do with it, and I've got a good idea of what I think the animals will look like at the end. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I just haven't found that one that, like, I see it and I'm like, whoa, that's something I want to do. It's just, like hypo clowns don't do it for me. Clown pied's not really my thing. I mean, I don't have any pied. Sorry, I have no clown in my collection. The only thing I have clown related is I have a leopard het pied female who's a possible het clown also. But I'm never going to prove that out. So she's been paired up with a pied at the moment just to get some leopard pieds out there. So we'll see what happens. But one day I'll find that one clown combo that just does it for me. And then, like you said, maybe I can.
A hypo clown will be a good base. I think a good base, because it really amp the color. But then because it's a double recessive, you're working their mods if you're not working on visuals on both sides.
A mate of mine here in South Africa, Dane, he's got some butter hypo clowns, and they're cool, but as they're getting bigger, it's just not for me. I know everything doesn't look as good as it does as an adult when it does as a baby, but for me, just the clown stuff is, for me, the extreme examples. But I see Carl brings up a valid point here. Desert Ghost clowns. That's okay. Sorry, Desert Ghost Xanthic clowns. Maybe. That's all right.
It's a stunning animal. That one that Justin produced. It's stunning, and it's only going to get better as it ages. But Exantic's another one, which is a weird one for me. It's very two-dimensional for me. Nothing against anybody who's working that gene. I can appreciate the art 100%, but it's just not a gene for me. I like to see lots of colour in my snakes, and that two-dimensional sort of black on white. It just takes the spark out of it for me. And if anything, I want more colour rather than less.
Yeah, it's also something I've never got into. I have one visual Axanthic female in my collection, and I kind of just have her for the sake of I've got her. I mean, she's a Axanthic butter pastel vanilla, and I just kind of ended up with her somewhere along the line, and she's growing up slowly there in the racks, and maybe one day I'll figure out what to do with her. I don't know yet, but still got 2 years to figure that one out.
Yeah.
So I know you do a series on YouTube on maternal incubation. Are you doing like all your clutches maternal incubation, or just some of them?
So that on the YouTube series, that's the first one I've ever done. I was actually beforehand, I was very apprehensive about it, just because I'd always synthetically incubated my eggs, and from lessons that the industry has taught me is that we take our females off the eggs, we synthetically incubate so that those females can get back on food, and then they're in better condition to breed again the following year. So I'd always done it that way, and I give the maternal incubation a whirl and found that was not right. Maternal incubation females actually, I think, do better. They bounce back better. They feed while they're incubating, and they bounce back hormonally better. A couple of times with females that I've pulled off eggs, I've noticed that, and the same females do it every year. You take them off the eggs, you put them back into a clean tub. Everything's been cleaned. The female's been cleaned. The scent of the eggs is completely gone. And I don't think the scent of the eggs on the actual female is as big a deal as what it's been made out to be. So this female's scent's completely gone off. I've gone back into a tub. They immediately go and make like a false nest on the hot spot, and they coil around a phantom clutch, and they'll sit there and not eat for 2 more months. And I've had that more than a handful of times. And the female that I did the maternal incubation series with, she was one of those females that did that. Now, when she was on the eggs, you can see it in the footage that she was actually feeding while she was on the eggs, and she after the eggs hatched and I took her off, pulled her, washed her down, she's absolutely ravenous, pounding food in a better condition for the following year than what she would have been if I'd have pulled her off. So I found it really interesting. I learned a great deal about it. I sort of put aside a lot of myths that were in my own head, and I think a lot of other people have got some stuff from it as well, which is great. It's made it all worth it.
Are you going to do more of that going forward, do you think, or was this just like a bit of an experiment just to see how it goes?
No, I think I'll do more. There's another yellow belly female that I have, which does exactly that, like where she sort of sits coiled around a phantom clutch every time I pull her off, sulks for 2 months, won't eat, and then that's 2 months of feeding that you don't get in the year. And when you're starting to food cycle and when you're coming up to the breeding season, they're already better off at that stage. Okay. So it's I'm definitely going to do more of it. I'm not going to fully convert to maternal incubation. There are disadvantages because you have way less control. So if something's if something's going wrong, then you can't just stick your hand in there and pull a bad egg out if something's gone wrong, because the female will have you and you'll stress her out, and that's obviously not what you want. So it's just another option for breeders to use. If you, especially new breeders, if they're coming in and a lot of times when you're new to it, you have eggs dropped on you because you don't know that you come in because you've missed the ovulation or whatever.
No, exactly. Yeah.
And I've had people contact me with just that. What do I do? Nothing. Just leave them. Just leave
Yeah,
them. They're perfectly kitted out to deal with it.
Sure, the mom will do all the work herself. So
yeah.
I've never done one. I want to do one still. I'm thinking like this season for me is pretty much a write-off. I didn't really put any effort into it. I paired some animals together, and if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But next year, I'm going to get my mind back into it. I just went through a bit of a kind of a, just throw them together if it happens. But next year, I'm going to put all my effort back into it. And I'm thinking of taking one clutch, whatever it may be, and doing a maternal just to experience it.
I can recommend it. It's a great experience, even if that experience is just for you. I wanted to share it with my YouTube audience, and I think they appreciated it. But even if it's just for you, it's great to just get that experience with it and learn what it is the females need when they're doing it.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'll bug you a lot, so just be prepared.
It's not as big a like you. At the beginning, I was really worried, and I was preparing myself for just 2 months of stress. But after because I had a camera set up in there as well, so I could capture what was going on, and I could just see that she knew exactly what she was doing. The instincts were just engaged. She was switched on and doing everything that she needed to do. All I did was, I think probably 2-3 times during the whole period, I opened the tub up, wet the substrate down a little bit just by pouring water out of my incubator onto the substrate.
Yeah.
That boosted humidity. I noticed that when it got to below sort of 80% humidity, she started urinating around the clutch.
Oh, wow, okay.
So I thought when she starts doing that, I start helping her along and wetting down the substrate. So less taxing on her resources there. I don't want to sap all the hydration out of her, and she did a great job.
Would she ever leave the eggs completely, or would you just kind of uncoil some, eat or have a drink, and then return, or how did she?
She didn't leave the clutch for the whole period, but I actually think that's only because everything she needed was right there.
Right there. Okay.
Have you seen Dave Kaufman's Ball Pythons in the Wild?
I started watching it, but I need to I think I watched the first 10 minutes or so. I need to actually watch the whole thing still.
Absolutely, you need to watch that, Gav. Honestly, it's brilliant, and that video sort of went live at a really good time for me because I was in the middle of doing this series, and he's sort of getting live readings from nests in the wild. There's a couple that he went to, I think in Benin, where the nests were occupied, and then it was more than a few degrees warmer in Ghana, and the nests were abandoned. So I think it's natural for them to sort of leave the nests so the eggs don't get too warm, or if they need to leave to go and get water. My female had a bowl of water right in front of her, so she didn't need to leave the nest for any reason, not even feeding opportunities, because it came to her.
Okay. But I had like a kind of a maternal incubation. When was it? 2 years ago. It was during the midst of lockdown. So when I was at my old house, my old apartment, I had a room with all my racks stacked up, and I had a bumblebee female right up at the top, like the highest point. And my little ladder thingy, I mean, I'm really tall. I'm almost 2 meters tall, and I still couldn't reach the top of that even on my little ladder. And I was topping up with her water bowl, like it would come up to about here. So I'd top up her water bowl. I would throw a rat in. She would take that. I feed live, so she would take that. And yes, it was the midst of lockdown. Was for us a level 5 lockdown where we couldn't leave our houses at all. And my incubator actually isn't at my house. My incubator is at my shop, my motorcycle shop. So I transport my stuff 15 kilometers every time, and I couldn't go anywhere. And then a few days after this whole situation, I pulled the tub out to do a clean, and she was sitting on 3 eggs. And I had paired her. I thought she had reabsorbed, and I'd missed the ovulation. But I didn't know when she had actually when she had laid the eggs, because the eggs were like heavily deflated and they looked almost flat. but I candled them and I could see there were some veins. So I took them out and I made a little makeshift incubator out of the beer cooler, basically. And a week later, they hatched. And I was like, oh, if I just left it for another week, she would have maternally incubated them. And there was 3 eggs and 3 babies, and they were perfect. So that was like just it was a lucky one. It was just a case of I should have just been a bit more observant, but I thought she had reabsorbed. That's why, because I move my stuff around, and when my females I know are going to go, then when I know they've reabsorbed, then I put them up and I keep them the ones I want to keep an eye on at the lower levels. And yeah, that one I just thought she was eating again, everything was fine. So oh well. So that worked. That one actually worked out. It was cool, but like I said, I never went through the whole experience, which is what I want to do.
Yeah, I can recommend it. That's actually quite a cool story, and it's told you a lot of information going in. Yeah. For example, the feeding part.
Yeah.
The feeding part I found is actually how
pay attention is the thing I learned the most.
Yeah. I didn't want to say, but you definitely need to pay closer attention to those higher tubs.
Yeah,
especially they're 2 meters tall. Wow. Easy.
Almost there.
Yeah. But I noticed that the feeding on maternal incubation females, they use that to moderate the temperature. So as they're starting to digest the food, their body temperature goes up. I was actually getting temperature readings from the female's body after she ate. She was a good 2 degrees Fahrenheit warmer, and everything else was inside the tub. Even the heat mat was at 88 and she was at 91. So
that's pretty cool.
That was a very cool piece of information.
Yeah, you get a lot of information out of that kind of stuff. Were you using a little temperature gun, or did you put a probe in there? Or
I was using a temp gun, so only getting surface temperature, but I didn't want to go poking around and prodding around.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. Another thing I wanted to ask you, I heard via the grapevine about you kind of, like, from what I understand, almost stumbled into some scaleless stuff.
I did, and it wasn't. It was a little bit of luck, but it was also I was also aiming to produce the animal ever since I saw Brian produce the scaleless snake. I'd always told myself one day I'm gonna make one of those. So I had to get the ingredients for that, and I invested into a scaleless male. A scaleless head male. Back when there was quite expensive. I can't remember exactly how much I paid for a scaleless head male, but
a lot.
it was a few bob for me at the time. And I ended up pairing him to an albino female. So I had a couple of holdback scaleless head, 100% het albino. But the project wasn't moving on quite as quickly as I'd hoped. And I came across a snake on Morph Market, which would have sped things up. So there was a German breeder selling a Cinnaspin scaleless head, so spider, cinnamon, pinstripe scaleless head. So I thought, well, they're all genes that I like. I could have done without the spider being in there. I sort of got rid of spider out of my collection a few years back. Not because I don't like it, quite the opposite. I absolutely love it, but because it wasn't selling well, and the project didn't really have legs. So I stopped producing it for that reason. But this female, I thought, there's a 50-50 chance I don't hit on the spider and everything's all good. So I purchased that animal. I drove to Germany to go and get it. It was a bit of a drive. I picked it up. I brought it back, and that female would not eat, and she didn't eat for 10 months, the whole 10 months that I had her. And I think maybe the journey had upset her a little bit. I think they do with adult females. If you're chipping a long way, hatchlings will get over it like that. But sometimes adults sulk for quite a bit. And this female sulked for 10 months. She didn't eat a thing. And because of that, I didn't pair her. She's not eating. I'd not food cycled her. So I didn't pair her at all. And then I opened the tub one day. I had a friend round, and she was striking at me and was very aggressive. So I was like, whoa, leave her alone. And then I just had a check on her the next day, opened the tub, and she was laying eggs. I couldn't believe it. I was like, right, what the hell's going on here? So I contacted the German breeder, and he said that he had actually had a clutch off her the season before, but she'd not been anywhere near a male from 18 months prior to when she was laying. So I know that they can have retained sperm, but I think 18 months is pushing it to what's actually physically possible. So when she's laying this clutch, I'm thinking parthenogenesis. So she ended up laying 4 eggs and 2 slugs. Chuck the slugs out. I'm candling those eggs, and 2 of them had, sort of medium to veins, and the other 2 had no veins. But I could see that at one point before she'd laid them, they were fertile, because I could see like a bruise on the top of the egg where the embryo was started to develop and didn't. So I'm now thinking even more evidence to point to parthenogenesis, because there is spider in the mix. So if it hits on that gene, then that's a fatal combination. So it won't. If it hits on that gene, it can only be the super form. It can't be a single form, if you know what I mean. With Partho. So but all of these things in my head are starting to make me think, this is parthenogenesis. So 2 of them were not fertile. I had the 2 eggs left. 1 died about a week into incubation. So I had the 1 egg left, and I didn't have much hope for it at all. It went all the way through, and it got to day 60, and I was feeling the egg. Normally at day 60, you can feel a solid snake inside the egg. This was still quite soft, and I was a little bit worried about it. I didn't think it was going to make it. And I cut it anyway, and bang, there it was, a scaleless snake. I could not believe it.
Yes. I can just imagine the, like, out of all that, 1 egg survives, and that's the one.
That's what I mean. You only got a 1 in 4 shot anyway, but it's because it's a super form. And then when it came out of the egg, I saw that it's a female. Now I've really got to seriously look at that of being a parthenogenic production. The trouble is, getting that proven is a bit of a nightmare. Post-Brexit in the UK, we can't. Only the states test for it, and we need CITES paperwork and all kinds of stuff to send a shed over to the states for it then to be tested, which is an added expense.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It's a bit of a nightmare to sort it. I'm hoping somebody in the UK can do it. I'm still investigating, but nothing forthcoming at the minute.
What had she been paired to 18 months before that?
Just scaleless head.
Okay.
So the pairing that was made could have produced that offspring, definitely.
Yeah, but like you say, it's 18 months is a long time.
It's a long stretch to retain sperm, definitely. And with it being like only 1 egg, and it's a super form, and it's female, and the other eggs in the clutch died at some point. So I'm about 70-30.
Okay. So we got a question here from Will's Hella Heat, who's been on, I think, every single podcast we've done so far. He's asking, does the scaleless head also act as a color enhancer?
I think so. As a pattern enhancer, definitely, it makes the snake more banded, but and you can see that more in the super as well, because the scaleless is very banded. But the clutch that I have produced scaleless heads in was het albino as well, and that's amping the color up. So I've basically got these phenotype sort of normals, I suppose you would say, but they are really bright, really vibrant, and I think that's the het albino and the scaleless head. amping it up.
That does the scaleless head. I can't remember where I saw a video somewhere a few years ago on the on the ventral scale, the one there by the cloaca. Does it have a split on it? Do they all have it, or is that just a random occurrence?
No, they all have it as far as I've seen. So sometimes I have produced scaleless heads which have got next to no scales missing on the head, but they have a bit of a different scalation thing going on where you can't really make out the back heat pits. So the heat pits closer to the eye, they're not there because the receptors are there, but the scalation around it isn't there, so you don't have a pit. And then also that split ventral scale. So there's three very dependable ways to identify a scaleless head if you haven't got the scales missing on the head.
Like a low expression. Yeah. Are you going to work the scaleless project, or is it just you wanted to make a scaleless for yourself and you're going to keep it, or are you going to start throwing other things in there?
I'm still undecided. So the scaleless female that I have, she's eating great. She's doing very well. They do have difficulty shedding, and I'm not sure if this is because of my own error. I'm just learning it.
Yeah.
They are different to a scaled snake. And to start with, I was keeping her too wet because I was worried about the shedding, and that sort of caused her to shed too soon. Bearing in mind that they're shedding just almost every time you feed them, just a little bit over weekly. These guys are shedding. So I kept it too wet. It caused it to shed too soon, and it caused like a sore down the back of a dorsal near the tail, which was weeping a little bit because it's just skin, it's just flesh. On a scaled snake, they've got that barrier to protect them, but scaleless snakes obviously don't have that, and that they will shed themselves raw if you don't keep an eye on it. So I think you can keep them successfully if you keep a very close eye on them. And because I have a smaller collection, I can definitely do that, and I hope I can make it work and do it justice. Whether or not I'm definitely not going to be producing loads of scaleless snakes. Definitely not. I want to see, because there's a lot of gaps in the information. There were some, high-end breeders putting out some really good information about the scaleless, and then it just seemed to stop.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that is. I can't get. I've spoken to a lot of other breeders in the States and in Europe, and I can't get a solid answer on do they produce clutches. The scaleless has been around.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Now, I've heard rumors that the females, almost like the deserts, they just don't produce.
Yeah, but that's what it is. It's rumors. Nobody knows for sure. But some people out there would be able to give us more information on it and aren't doing. And for reasons that I understand, I get why they're not. But there's adult female scaleless snakes out there, and I want to see them under an ultrasound to see if they're developing follicles or not.
Yeah.
I don't have an ultrasound. I usually palpate my females. Maybe one that by the time she's an adult, I might have one and be able to see what's happening. And if they grow to a certain size and then stop and they reabsorb, and if they do that consistently, then yeah, maybe the female, maybe it's something to do with the lack of keratin stops them from producing eggs. We just don't know, and because we don't know, I can't live with it. So I had to sort of experience it. I was always going to produce a scaleless snake. I was shooting for it, which is why I bought the female in the first place. So go on my own journey. There's no experience like first-hand experience, so we'll find out, even if it takes 5 years.
Yeah, so you can enjoy it. Maybe it works out, and then you'll be one of the few people that will share that info. Now, I love the scaleless stuff. I think the scaleless pieds that in the States are flipping cool, like seriously cool. When was it? Last night I got into a scaleless project, but not ball pythons. I bought some het scaleless corn snakes. It's my first dabble in the scaleless thing, so we'll see how that goes. Quite
scaleless corns lay eggs. and it's
Yeah.
the same mutation. So that was another thing that was like, I can't see any reason, like, the scaleless corn snake lays eggs, the leatherback bearded dragons lay eggs.
In
Why
South
not?
Africa, we've had some scaleless puff adders. They give live birth, and I know of scaleless puff adders that have had live babies and no issues.
Wow.
Yeah. So what other projects are you working on? Anything really interesting? Or I think also you said you quite like the lavender stuff also.
Yeah. So lavender is something that I've always liked, and because I'm pushing the sort of burgundy pieds, took me away from the sort of dreamsicle route. But there is quite a simple combination which I think is being slept on. They have been produced, but not a lot of people work in it, and that is champagne lavenders. If you haven't seen them, go and have a look. They're beautiful, and
Okay.
there's a couple of other incomplete dominant traits that you could work into there, and it will really pop. Black pastel, for example, or cinnamon.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen that from Royal Constrictor Designs, Garrick de Meyer, his lavender sugars. That is like, I couldn't have thought that's what it's going to look like. Like, you could give me a million guesses and I would never have guessed that's what it looked like.
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that actually, and I've watched Garrick quite closely, so I've been sleeping on that, and I need to have a look now.
On his Instagram, it's for me, it's just not something I would have thought that's how it would look. I'm keen to see it on 1,000 grams. I think that's going to be pretty sick, and it's a good base to work from, I think.
I'll definitely have a look at that one. Definitely. What about you, Gavin? What other projects are you pushing?
I've got one lavender female, a visual female. She's sitting around about 600 grams or so. I'm gonna go the common route of the dreamsicles, because it's stupid pun and all, but it's one of my dream snakes is a dreamsicle. But I don't want to do it just with a normal make double hits with a pied. So I've got my Orange Dream Firefly pied. And I'm gonna probably next season pair him to that lavender and make multi-codom double hits. That's my plan with my lavender, and then work it from, and then figure out where from there. But my entire collection pretty much revolves around in the pied route is the Orange Dream stuff. I've got next season I'll have 9 breeder female visual pieds. Of which, not 9, 11. Of which some of them are just straight pieds, and then the rest are various combos. And my problem was I ended up with a lot of pied females, but for the last 2 years, I only had 2 normal pied males, because my combo females just weren't producing. They were either producing females or they were producing nothing. And I needed that male just to ramp it up. So now I've got that Orange Dream Firefly. He's also, I think I sent you pictures of him. Ozzy reckons he has Enchi. I'm not sure. But then I've also got another backup male, an Orange Dream.
Sorry to interrupt. It's hard to identify Enchi when Orange Dream's in the mix as well, because it's similar.
And with the fire. And that fire reduces the pattern that the Enchi adds. So it's a bit difficult. But then I've got and then I've got a backup OD pied male also, just a straight OD pied male now. So I'll be shooting for super OD pieds next year, hopefully. That's nice. my big plan is some super OD pieds.
I think that would definitely be a bonus if there is Enchi in the mix.
No, for sure.
It'll make it low white, but I actually like that personally.
Yeah.
I produced
banana. So much more pattern.
Yeah. So much more pattern and hardly any white, to a point where people are looking at it thinking, "Is that a visual pied?" But I can see clearly it is. But
yeah, I've got 2 pied males, which were byproducts from other breedings. I'll actually send you pictures a bit later. Whenever, obviously I advertise the stuff for sale and people want pictures of it, I send them and they say, "Yes, you're talking crap. That's not a pied." I'm like, "I promise you it's a pied." I produce a substantial amount of no white pieds for some unknown reason, and it's different females and different males producing them. I just have that luck of high pattern, low white pieds. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, there's other genes that do it. Like I produced 2 pastel pieds recently that are really low white, and I think it's that line of pastel which is making them low white, because obviously I've done pastel pieds before which are really high white. So, but that was a different line of pastel from a different male.
Yeah, my pastel pieds come out also very, very low white.
Yeah, and I like that. The more pied pattern, the better.
Yeah.
It's nice to have some white to recognise that it is a pied, but you can always tell by the bellies anyway, and the pattern's different. When you know what to look for in your low white stuff, you know when it's there.
Yeah. It's just nice when you're starting to add 3, 4, 5 genes into it. If you've got a white pied which has a head pattern and maybe one little saddle somewhere, what's the point? I mean, yeah, genetically it's amazing, but you want to open that tub and you want to see all 5, 6 genes in there. You know, you want to. Oh, I like the look of that. Not just the white.
I don't know how Ozzy does it. He's got like one patch of colour on a pied, and he's like, yeah, that's super high intensity orange dream, enchy, fire, and I'm like, how are you seeing all this? But you don't question him. He knows his stuff.
Yeah, no, listen. I don't know if you've met Ozzy. I hung out with him in Canada.
I've seen you've rubbed shoulders with some of the best.
Yeah, no, and he is one of the. He's such a cool guy. Like he's chill. He's not loud. He just sits there. But when you ask him a question, you must get like a little voice recorder in your brain just to record every single word that comes out of that man's mouth. The knowledge that I got from him was just on another level, and it's instantaneous. You ask him a question, boom, and it's there. It's unbelievable.
Wicked. Hopefully, I get the opportunity one day, because he's definitely been one that I've looked to over the years. Him, Brian Gundy was one of the originals. Even Brian Barczyk, he gets a bad rep, but he's done great things for the hobby.
He's the reason I think ball pythons are as mainstream as they are.
Absolutely, question.
He's a great guy. Absolutely
question.
Great guy.
Yeah. But
sorry. Yeah?
No. Sorry, go on.
No. Carry on. I was going to say something else. No, carry on. You're saying, yeah.
I forgot what I was going to say now.
Sorry, my bad there.
That's all right, mate.
I was going to say was so now onto the most important thing in the world. What hypo stuff are you doing?
Well, you was actually nebbing on an Instagram live that I was doing with Carl at Northcotes.
Yeah.
And you saw my prize male. I did show him off, and then after I did, I immediately regretted it, because he just doesn't look. I can't get a decent picture of him. It doesn't give it off. You need the Mach 1 eyeball on this snake to appreciate it, and that is the Mojave GHI hypo, 100% het clown.
Yeah, I know. A hypo is so hard to catch correctly. I mean, you stand there with it in your hand with your phone, and you're looking through your phone, you're looking at your hand, and there's no light, no filter, nothing you can do. They never look like they should.
This thing's blue, pretty much. Yeah. That's the only thing I can use to describe it, and it's just on another level. Quality animal, got him from a great breeder. If you don't know Paul Milner, Urban Country, I'm sure you do. He's a great guy. I've been to his facility a couple of times, and it just blows my head off every time I see it.
Yeah, no, listen, that guy produces some amazing stuff. But now, when it comes to hyper, do you go the dark? What do you prefer, the dark route or the lighter route, or a bit of both?
I don't have a preference. So with the male that I've got, obviously the dark route is the way to go. But I think hypo lends itself well to both. There's no bad gene. It's up to the breeder to decide, whether or not they want that in there, to bring out the best of that gene. I produced a pastelenchi hypo, which is 100% het pied, and that thing's bucking with colour. It's just got colour for days, and I've grown to really like it. And then I'm looking up things in the collection which are OD and Yellow Belly, and when you've got them things in there as well, Fire, that's just going to amp that up to another level.
Yeah, now I was going to say now, I've got some Yellow Belly hypo stuff. So I've got a visual hypo Yellow Belly female, and then I've got a Yellow Belly pastel hypo visual female. But she's still quite small. But I think just that Yellow Belly in the hypo stuff is just, it takes it up a notch. I've got Yellow Belly running through quite a bit of my stuff. So I think I sent you a picture of that, hypo Lemon Blast. Both my males are Yellow Belly. I'm pretty sure they are. And then I think I have it running through another female of mine too, which I'm not sure of yet, but we'll see soon. But I like just the symbol. That pastel yellow hypo is just unbelievable. She's actually the snake the hypo that I can get the best representation on a photo for some reason. I can get her almost true colors on a photo.
Yeah, in natural light.
Also, I have LED fluorescent lights in my snake room, and that's difficult to get a proper color. But I just found a spot where she popped almost the correct way.
I'll just make some notes.
I'll forward that a little. I fiddle a lot with my lighting, and just I don't use filters on my phone filters or anything. So I like to take a photo of it as it is. And I have one place outside in the morning where, in the natural light, but in the shade, where the colors are perfect. And then I've got one spot in my snake room. If I stand with my back to the light and get the photo at the right angle, it comes out almost perfectly now. So,
I love that on the last podcast with Rassi and Wally. I love that where I think it was Wally who said that he uses a tree outside to gauge when he starts his breeding season. I love that little touch. It just reminded me where you said there's a spot outside that you go to take the picture. It just reminded me of that.
Carl asked the question, so feel free to abuse him. I would assume. I've got a hypo female that's busy ovulating, which was paired to a blackhead pinstripe 100% het. What are your thoughts, guys?
So he's got blackhead pinstripe. Can't really go wrong.
Just the blackhead hypo of that is going to be, even without the pin, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Pinstripe's one of those genes in hypo where you can take it either root, dark or light, and it will amp both, because there's so little black on a pinstripe. There's so much space to put color in there. But the darker stuff has this like hue to it with pinstripe, which is that's a really good pairing, Carl.
I've also got a pinstripe hypo. My breeder male is a hypo pin, and he's also one of his. I've got a little hatchling storm. He's about 150 grams, and just at that size, it glows. That hypo just makes the thing absolutely glow. So I think with the blackhead and the pin, it's going to be seriously cool.
Yeah. I do have some Desert Ghost stuff as well. Well, I say stuff. I have one female growing on who is a Firefly Desert Ghost.
Oh, wow.
I actually bought her from Germany as well, from a German breeder, and I bought it as a male. And it was one of those where it turned out to be female, and I was extremely happy with that. But did mean that I'm going to have to wait a lot longer before I can start producing from that. So, and she's not a great eater either, so it's taken her long to get her up to breeding size.
Desert Ghost just also I like it, but I prefer. I think we discussed this a while ago. Like I prefer hypo over Desert Ghost, to be honest. I know financially Desert Ghost is, if you want to make a whole lot of money, go Desert Ghost, don't go hypo. But I prefer I prefer the hypos, to be honest.
We're probably the only two breeders in the world that agree on that. But we was myself and Carl, we was discussing this on one of our WhatsApp groups we've got with a couple of the Malaysian breeders over there, and Rob Barakoff is, Desert Ghost everything. From a business standpoint, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I'm a hobbyist through and through, and what I want to look at rather than what makes good business sense. But Desert Ghost is, I can't take anything away from it. It is a phenomenal gene.
That's beautiful.
It is powerful. It's absolutely beautiful. I don't think I would ever work it into hypo. I don't think those two sort of belong to each other. But Pied definitely. Clown definitely. We was actually discussing from some pictures that we were talking about that we'd seen on Instagram, where whether I was saying I would choose Cypress in Clown over Desert Ghost any day of the week. And they were saying, no, both. You're being greedy. They want both in.
Yeah. Do you do a lot of Cypress stuff, or
I haven't got any.
Anything?
I haven't got any.
Me neither. I really want some Cypress. I like it.
I really like it as well, but it's just small collection. I'm still. That's a lot of recessive projects I'm working. It's a lot of holdbacks. Even though my collection's only small, it maxes me out with working full time, family, social media. It's hard to fit it all in. But next time I've got a bit of space available, I want to get Cypress into the clown stuff. Maybe see some of my other clown projects come into fruition a little bit first before I start adding those genes in.
Yeah,
I think that's
get some good recessive bases, and then bring the Cypress into that. And
yeah, there's so many others as well, though, Gavin.
There's too many. There's just too many.
Have you guys got special over there?
Yeah, we've got lots of special going around. Special pies, dude. Special pies. That is going to be. I mean, there's a lot of that around already overseas, but special pie, I think, is going to blow up in the next couple of years. Big time.
It's gone mad recently, and understandably, but it's like special's been around quite a while.
Forever. It's been around forever.
And not a lot of breeders did much with it. Not in pied anyway. And then as soon as it did, it's like, oh, look what this is doing. It just goes to show you that you don't know a gene until you've tried it with something else.
I always go back to it when people say that. I always go back to spot nose. I mean, spot noses were, you could buy them for the price of a normal, and you couldn't give them away. I know I got offered when I started. I got offered a lot of spot nose stuff, and I was like, nah. I didn't know enough about it, and I was like, it looks too much like a normal. I want, visually appealing things. And then the spot nose clown came, and then literally the next day, where could you find a spot nose? And if you could, no one could afford it, because the price went from like 100 Rand to 100,000 Rand, that kind of thing. So, and like I said, it's the same with special. I think it's been around forever, but when that right one hits, you won't find it.
Yeah.
Let's see what's said. Do you? We're getting asked now. What line of special do you like? So I am a Barker line fanboy, and that's Will's Halle Heat.
I haven't got much experience with different lines of special. I haven't got it in the collection yet, but like I said, it's one of those ones like Cypress, which I love. It's Bell Complex, right? Special.
It works like with the crystals and with the Mojaves and the Phantoms and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So that earlier on in my early seasons, I did sort of play around a lot with that complex, like Purple Passions and Bells. I still do produce Bells. I haven't produced any this season, but I did a clutch of last season, Karmas and Bells, but not got special in there yet. But now I've seen what it can do in pied. I think anything in the Bell complex, you're sort of in danger of making a pied high white. Sorry,
high white. Yeah.
You want to think about mixing the other genes in there, which make it which sort of bring that back into balance, because the special pie is so beautiful. You wouldn't want it to be virtually all white with a little patch of pattern or color on it. So
and a little weird head. No, it's I love the bell stuff. I produce it purely because that's what I don't produce my own rodents, so I make them to I make them to finance my rodents. That's what I do, because you will always sell a white snake. You'll always sell it. So I produce them. I produce them, and that pretty much I use that money to buy my rats.
Yeah, bells, bananas, purple passions. They've been my best sellers so far, without a shadow of a doubt. Sometimes they're sold before they're even out the egg. I still get them feeding and that before I release them, but they're hot off the mark. They are, with some of the more high end stuff taking longer to disappear from morph market than the low end stuff, and that's because the market's got legs.
Yeah, the thing is, you can't just, especially in South Africa, we can't just produce high end stuff all the time. I mean, it's not, and I know everyone's like, you don't want to. If you want to make money off it, you get abused a lot, especially here. And you mustn't make money off it. But if you want to do it, I mean, you can't just be producing 4-5 gene Desert Ghost pied combos or Desert Ghost clown combos. You can't do that, because our market is so small. I don't know how it is there in the UK, but our market is so small that you can't produce that stuff only. So you've got to produce what I call the pet trade quality, which would be your, like you say, your bananas, banana enchies, all your bell stuff, albinos, all that kind of thing. You can't just produce, especially here, you can't just produce high
end. No, and I don't. I think as a breeder, you need to sort of find your place in the market. If some people come in and invest the money, they've got that money there and they can invest it, and they're straight to the top. And selling high end snakes to the big boys. I've sort of gradually worked my way up, and I get a lot of fulfillment from selling low end snakes to people, whether it's as pets or whether it's a low end snake, but it's got a bit of potential. Maybe it's het pied, or like banana het pieds, for example.
Yeah.
That's the kind of animal which will get people interested.
No, for sure. And then they buy higher end from you.
They're looking up breeding 2-3 years down the line, and that's because of a snake that I sold them, and I absolutely love that side of it. Like if I can bring people into the hobby with the sale of a snake, that's I absolutely love to do that. I got a lot out of that.
I have I have like an open door policy. I like talking about snakes, so. Even when somebody comes, I mean, I had a guy and his girlfriend came here, I think, a week, and just bought a normal from me. But it was about an hour and a half worth of just talking like we're talking now, helping them with questions and showing them what I've got. And even though they were just buying that normal, I know I could tell in a couple of months the bug had bitten. In a couple of months, they're going to come back to me and say, listen, I want a pinstripe now, for argument's sake. It's just that. And I like having people over to look at my collection, just like I like going. I mean, I don't have a massive collection, and I don't have the best collection by any means. I've got a couple of nice snakes, and then I've got a lot of more common stuff. But I just like people coming over, and I like going over to people just to look at snakes, even if I'm not going to buy anything. Go to my friends and I spend a few hours there. We just crack a few beers and talk rubbish and look at animals. That's what I enjoy. That's why I give somebody that's buying a normal and somebody that's buying a multi-gene pied combo from me, give them the same time of day, because they're going to come back to you every single time.
Absolutely. It sounds like my kind of evening. That just sat around talking about. You
have to come. You got to come and visit us here one day. Myself and Keith will talk snakes. We'll make a nice braai for you, and we'll drink and eat and talk snakes.
I can imagine I'll find myself out there at some point. It might not be, next year or whatever, but I'll have to go and visit Carl. You know, I just, even though me and Carl have never met, you know, through the power of social media, me and him have become great friends. Along with some others. So
yeah,
I'm sure my ventures will get me out that way one day.
Yeah, but you remember Carl stays in a terrible place. He stays in Natal. It's humid and there's just lots of curry and stuff there. You must come to the coast, the south coast, Cape Town. That's where the right place is. That's where you got to be.
Right, you're trying to start a war in the comment section there, are you?
Yeah, but Joburg, don't even bother. That's horrible there.
Right,
I used to work there, so I can say that it's okay.
It's such a strange thing because all of my great friends within the hobby live so far away. I've got Rob Barracroft, who lives in Malaysia, and he's been a good friend of mine and a great supporter and mentor for me over the years. And he's out in Malaysia. I'm going to have to go out there and visit him at some point as well.
Yeah,
but yeah,
that's the problem with having people all over the world. You actually sometimes have to go and visit them, and they're always never in your area. So you got to go all over. So you go to South Africa, Malaysia, the States. Yeah. Where in the UK are you?
So I live near a town called Grimsby. So that's sort of like northeast.
Brothers Grimsby. Sorry.
Yeah, it's not that. It's nothing like that.
I know. I'm pretty sure it's not.
Amount of people have said that to me.
You're quite a Yorkshire accent, or what we call a Yorkshire accent.
No, it's not Yorkshire. It's Lincolnshire, but Lincolnshire does border Yorkshire, so it is. You're in the sort of right ballpark, but don't say that. Don't say that to anyone else that you meet from over
here. Do you keep anything else, or only ball pythons?
No, so I've always had sort of a burning desire for tegus. The Argentinian black and white. I'd just love to have one as a pet. But I think, you know, as things develop with TOR, and I can sort of maybe soon find myself into a place where I can sort of expand and build a bigger facility, I would like to do the chondros on the side, so the green trees. You know, they're just as display animals are just absolutely breathtaking to look at.
Yeah, I see Paul Milner there. He's got those displays there on the wine wall with his chondros, and it's freaking amazing. That's my absolute dream snake from when I was a young kid. Is a Amazon basin emerald tree boa.
Yeah,
I will have one. One day I will have one. Keith and I have discussed this many times. I will have one day. I don't care if it lives for 2 days. I just wanted to say I owned one.
I think people are starting to figure it out more now and get the breeding more dialed in and having a lot better success with it, because it's not like breeding royals. These are difficult species to keep and to keep successfully and to breed. So the more people that figure it out and then they're sharing the information like Paul Milner is doing, you know, that's better for people like us who want to get into it.
But you got no other species at the moment, snake wise.
No, I have kept hogs, corns, and kings, but I ended up getting rid because I wanted to focus just solely on ball pythons, and I've tried very hard and been very strict with myself to keep the collection at a size which I can manage. And been very conservative with it, just because, you know, I value my family time and you know, work full time. So I've worked very hard on that, and that has sort of stunted the growth of it a little bit. But it's also stopped me from, you know, getting too big too quick, and then in a year's time I'm selling up because my collection's too big, and because it's, you know, it's when them hatches start coming in, it's a lot of mouths to feed and it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And like I'm feeling it at the minute. I've got, you know, racks full of snakes, and you know, the market's not great at the minute. We will get past that.
That will definitely.
But it's just because of the everyone's struggling around the world at the minute, aren't they, financially? So it's we'll get past that. And I've had a good season. I don't think I'm going to get any more clutches. There's sort of about 4 or 5 females in my collection that might go sort of later on in the year.
Yeah.
I'm hoping the Pied Het Burgundy is one of them. She's sort of been keeping me guessing so far, but she hasn't gone yet, and it's getting a bit late in my season now. But it's also not as seasonal as I've been led to believe either. I eased off. I've eased right off on the temperature drops, and do me pairings now on the biometric pressure rather than on temperature drops. I don't think that gives us much of an edge as what we're led to believe. Ball pythons come from countries which are along the equator where they don't experience much of a temperature drop at all. So
that makes sense.
Why we think that it's so important to have a temperature drop to stimulate follicle growth is a question I haven't got the answer to. I don't know why we think that, but as an industry, we do.
It's what we've been taught. I mean, I know a lot of people that don't do temperature drops at all. They just feed the animals at a certain point, like just as much as they want. They start pairing, and then and it goes from there. So
in the grand scheme of it, it doesn't really matter if it works for somebody. Then it works, and it's about producing beautiful animals at the end of the day. So if it works, then don't stop doing what you're doing.
No, for sure.
I'm just saying that over the seasons I've learned more and more that the temperature drops aren't as important as what I used to think.
Yeah. You talk about mouths to feed and that kind of stuff. So do you breed your own rodents or?
No. So I order all my stuff frozen.
Okay.
So it's a bit of a grey area live feeding in the UK. There isn't a law as such against it, and I think if you're breeding your own rats to feed, that is allowed, but that's just a great deal of work in itself. And
it's more work than the snakes.
yeah, more work than the snakes. And I personally don't have the space or the time to be cleaning rodents out every 3 days or whatever it is, because they need cleaning a lot. Especially if you're feeding them right, and the nutrition that you put into the rats needs to be good, because at the end of the day that goes into the snakes. So you need to be feeding a lot, which means cleaning a lot, which is just time I don't have. It's easy for me to order it in frozen.
I'm exactly the same. I would like to be able to breed my own rodents, but I don't have the space, and I also work a full-time job, so it's got to. I mean, I don't have kids or anything, but I mean, you still got to spend time with the wife of it, you got to. You got to do that, because I've got a lot of other stuff I do. I fly falcons also. I do falconry.
I was gonna ask you about that actually. I saw your picture on your profile picture on WhatsApp, and I seen that. Is that a peregrine? That?
Yeah, that's my peregrine falcon. Yeah.
That's wicked. So do you breed them? Are we allowed to talk about other things like that on here?
Because can talk about whatever. Yeah. So the laws to breed them, you just got to get a permit to do it, but there's no falconry in South Africa. It's not like in the UK where there's a big market. It's heavily regulated. So in the UK, anybody can just go and buy a bird from a center or from a private breeder. Here, you have to belong to a falconry club, and South Africa split up into a whole lot of provinces, and each province has its own club and governing body, and that all falls under that area's nature conservation. So you have to join the club, you have to write exams, and then you work through a grading system. So at different grades, you can have different birds, and we have a quota per year that we can actually trap out of the wild from nature conservation. But the last few years, we don't really use it anymore. We buy captive bred birds now. We have guys that do breed purposely for falconry. So you put an order in the year before, and if what you want comes out, then you can buy it or make a deal for it or something like that.
So do you have your own?
Yeah, that bird's my bird.
So have you had that from hatchling? Do you have to like imprint on them to train them? Like,
No. So I got this bird about 2 months ago, a month and a half, 2 months ago, from a friend of mine who's flown it for a couple of years. I had my bird, my previous peregrine, I had her for 6 years, and she was a wild trap bird. We trap them in their first year. Their colors are a little bit different, so we know they're not breeding or anything. So she was probably about 6, 7 months when I trapped her, and I flew her for 6 years, and I released her, and she's back in the wild and doing her thing. And then I took over this bird for the season. Actually, today was my last flight for the season with her. So she goes into the aviary now from today, and she gets to grow new feathers and molt out. And February, March next year, I'll take her out again and start hunting.
That is fascinating. Do you know you said like in the UK? I don't have much experience with it, but I'm still fascinated. So, guys in the UK can just go and buy one, and then you have to be a member of a falconry in South Africa.
Yeah, in South Africa, and the States, it's heavily regulated.
It's better that way, surely, though.
By far. I mean, I'm in a lot of the falconry groups on Facebook, and a lot of them are UK based, and the amount of birds that are lost and released, which shouldn't be released because they're exotics to the area, it's 5, 6, 10 a day. And like I tell you, we're in South Africa. If your bird flies away, you have to inform nature conservation, and there's strict protocols that have to be followed to get that bird. If it's an indigenous bird, like if I had to lose my bird now, it's not really a problem because it's a local bird, it's endemic, it's going to be fine. But if I have an exotic peregrine or an exotic falcon or a hybrid falcon, there's a big problem with that being released or escaped. So there's heavy protocols. But like I say, in the UK, you can just go any breeder. Most breeders won't sell just to a random person that has no experience. But for every 10 that won't do that, there's 1,000 that will do that. So it's not like you can't just take one bird and fly. Like there's different levels to it. It's like keeping ball pythons and keeping emerald tree boas. You got to know what you're doing. With certain birds, it's not a case of I'll get it and it'll work out. Eagles and then certain falcons are just, they don't work for everyone. So it's awesome. I'll send you some cool pictures of stuff a little bit later. Some of my bird flying and that. And I've done it 20 years. I've done 20 years already.
Find that very, very interesting. Thank you. That's very cool.
Oh, so do you do anything else outside? I mean, like I do my falcon. Do you do anything outside of pythons or snakes?
Not much that I get time for. Sort of. I used to play a bit of rugby, and I've knocked that on the head. And fishing when I get the chance.
Oh, nice.
I noticed a lot of ball python breeders, particularly here in the UK, are also avid carp anglers, and I'm no different. It's almost as if we're cut from the same cloth. We've all similar interests, usually around animals in one way, shape, or form. So I like that observation that I've made. We all seem to
animal people are animal people.
Yeah,
it's just how it is. Yeah. Now going back a little bit to the pythons, the question I have to ask everyone: sunset or monsoon, and why? Or none of the above.
Yeah, but I'm the same as everyone else, really. If I had to pick one, sunset. Monsoon's a very, very busy pattern, very strong influence to a point where it's like, okay, you've got the monsoon, now what?
Yeah.
Maybe that's my own sort of ignorance, but
no, you're right. You are right.
I don't know what I'd do with it. I don't know what I'd pair with it. I would maybe try and bring more colour out of it, but it's not. I can see that project decreasing in value, which is not what I want to see happen. But I think as things cotton on to that, But even, there's no such thing as a bad gene.
No.
Me saying that about Monsoon is just because I don't know what genes will make that work, and that's bad form on my part. I just don't know what. There'll be a gene out there which will bring it out.
That's what I was going to say. Now someone's going to find it.
Yeah.
Eventually, someone will stumble across the right combo, and then it's going to be boom.
My personal preference, I lean to the more reduced, cleaner, sort of less hectic patterns. So I've been like that since the beginning. That's not so. Even some of the busy clown stuff, I don't like the busier patterns. I like the larger saddles with clean, color and bushings up the side. Enchi is probably my favorite gene and the one that I work the most. And even though it is so widely used, I still think it's underused in a lot of ways. You hear lots of people saying, we need yellow belly and everything, which is absolutely right, because yellow belly will just enhance the color. You have to be careful with having yellow belly on both sides, because ivories.
Yeah, you don't want your ivories.
You say that, but visually, an ivory can have. I know you're not a clown guy, but I would sell organs to get my hands on an ivory that is a visual clown. If it's passing on the yellow belly trait every time and passing on het clown every time and every pairing that you make, that's invaluable.
I think the ivory clown, if you throw something like leopard in, because your leopard ivories the leopard brings the pattern back to the ivories. So if you're putting that into the clown, it might help a little bit there. But I like ivories. I'm a big fan of just straight. I like white snakes, and I'm a big fan of that. But you said something now with the Enchi stuff, and you say a lot has been done of it. I think the future of something like Enchi is supers. So instead of a Enchi pastel, just for something simple, a super Enchi pastel. You start putting your super Enchis into your various codoms. I think it's going to increase the shelf life substantially. That's my little opinion there.
Yeah. Similar sketch with Orange Dream as well, or even double supers. So the good thing about that project, I hear a lot of people talking about double and triple recessives, not just you, everybody, double and triple recessives. So those projects are going to prove valuable going forward, but you're not going to be able, sooner or later, you're going to be producing animals which are het for something and then possibly het for something else, and you don't really know. And that is going to affect the market in some kind of way. If you're producing double supers, you can see that's because it's incomplete dominant. If it's het, then you can see it. It's visual. It's there. There's no question.
Yeah.
There's no 66% possible het for pastel. It's there. You can see it. And the same with Orange Dream, and the same with Enchi. The supers the super Enchi and the Enchi, I used to think were quite close, and they were hard to tell apart until I produced my own super Enchi, and it's clear to see, and that will really start bringing the colour in. I love Enchi. I can't say enough good stuff about it.
Don't let Keith hear you. He absolutely hates Enchi.
Does he really?
He does not like it. I find that amazing. Every time I send him a combo, I see something on Instagram or on Facebook, I send him a picture of it, but I don't tell him what's in it, and I wait for him to say, "Oh, that's so amazing," and then I give him the genes, and I always put Enchi in caps every single time. I get him with that almost every time now, so he has to like Enchi. He's going to have to eventually like it because he keeps saying he likes the combo. So
yeah, what is it to not like about Enchi? Somebody, I'll have to pin him down somewhere and find out what his problem is, because sit right with me.
I'm making some Enchi hypos now, hopefully. So got my Enchi het hypo paired to my visual hypo female. So one of them. So we'll see. I want to get that as a base. I just want to hold back a female, maybe two females, and then I'm done holding back. I'm holding back too many female visual hypos and multi gene hits. But I know you can never have enough, but space, man, space.
Too many visual hypos is. I don't know why people think Desert Ghost is the only gene that gets better with age, because I've got a visual hypo female, and she's just every time I open that tub, I just love her even more. She's absolutely phenomenal. And then sometimes when she sheds, it's like
super hypo.
Is that even the same snake? Yeah, it's like a super hypo.
I call it the super hypo, yeah. But you must. I've got my yellow belly hypo, and that if you put it just next to the normal visual hypo, it's night and day difference. The yellow belly just amps the color of that hypo up even more. It's really good, and I'm quite lucky. I've just got the hypo. I don't know what line of hypo it is, but whatever line I've got just produces really good stuff. I'm quite lucky in that regards.
I was looking at the Super Striker Yellow Belly today.
Oh,
I'm
dude,
thinking
that thing is
screaming for hypo.
Yeah, that thing. Russia and them have some amazing stuff, like striker stuff. They've got a gene called Jester, which is quite nice. But for me, and Furrow, that's also quite cool. And they got Nyala. I don't know if you've seen the Nyala.
I haven't seen the Jester either. I'll have to go and check them out.
It's not the same. Yeah, the Nyala stuff is very, very similar-ish to Mahogany. It's not the same, but it's similar. But it's flipping cool. It's really, really cool. The Nyala stuff, I think it's what Wally loves is Nyala. He's like, that's his little baby. He loves it. But when I saw their striker, I saw a yellow belly striker, just a single gene striker yellow belly at the One Expo in Johannesburg in 2018, and I was like, just that on its own was amazing.
I'm so pleased that they put it to yellow belly early, because if I actually saw the single gene striker on its own today, it must have been Wally on his Instagram who sent me the link to the Morph Market, and I had a look at that, and I got a look at the single gene striker, and I think if I was looking at that, I'd have gone, that's yellow belly complex. And they've paired it to yellow belly, and it's obviously proven that it's not. So that's great that they've done that. They've done that from the off, because I think looking at the single version, I would have just gone, that belongs. You put that with Spectre, yellow belly, or any of the genes that are in that complex, asphalt, gravel, or whatever. You'll get some sort of super, and I would have put money on it, but it's not. It just goes to show you it's completely separate.
I think putting something like Enchi onto that will be quite cool, because it's so heavily banded already, and then you're throwing another banding gene on. I think that's going to ramp it up on another level.
It seems like we think alike, because when I seen that yellow belly super striker, I was thinking Enchi and hypo on that would be absolutely mega.
No, for sure. Well, hypo is just going to, like I always say, back into everything. It can't not look nice. So
can't really go wrong.
No, definitely not. But
so the Jester that they have they made a super with that? I don't remember.
I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
I'm not sure. I'll be honest with you. I'm not overly familiar with the Jester stuff. I've seen one or two things that were quite nice. Can't remember what they were. I just remember it being quite nice. But on the Instagram you'll see there's quite a bit of it. And like I say, the Nyala stuff was insanely popular when it came out. And it still is very popular. It's a cool gene. It's a very dark gene. It's very nice.
Right.
They're also doing quite a lot of stuff with the gene that they came with now with called Furrow. That's also, it's a lot of stuff they've done with that over the last few years. I think there is some Furrow in the States now also. Got sent up a couple of years ago. So we'll see what happens with that.
If there's one gene that you could get in your collection now, like wave a magic wand, what would it be?
To be honest, it's between Sunset and Monarch.
Oh, really?
I really like Monarch. I'm quite a fan. I mean, I've been toying with going into Ultramal
Mhm.
the last about year or so. I haven't pulled the trigger, but I think I'd rather want to wait until we get Monarch down here. I really like it.
I think if I was to work the sunset, I would be pushed to, you know, work that into albino, because I know that it'll bring the reds out. There's a project from one of the breeders in the UK, a guy called David Davis, and he produced I think he's called it the Autumn Sun. And that snake's got a lot of red blushing, which comes up the side. It absolutely gorgeous animal.
What's the genetics behind that? Don't you know?
It's to do with the albino gene and Enchi. You'll have to go. There's a podcast here in the UK called That Wolf is Royals podcast, and he was on that, and he did sort of briefly talk through what how he ended up producing the first animal, but it's not clear to me yet exactly how it works. I suspect there is a little bit of an allelic sort of combination going on with the het albino, but I'm not 100% sure.
And now let me ask you the same question: if a gene you don't have,
Cyprus.
I
would cheat and say want it to be het clown as well.
Cyprus het clown, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Listen, that might be the one for me that works with the clown. Is the Cyprus clowns. I quite like that stuff.
Yeah.
I quite like that a lot.
But then it's so much more as well, because then when you start popping in red stripe and yellow belly and banana, even that thing will scream. In fact,
that's why
seen a similar combination to that at Paul Milner's facility. He had something along those lines, and it was absolutely screaming with colour.
That's one gene talking about the banana, and that doesn't work, that I've seen with the sunset, is the banana stuff. That doesn't work for me.
You had to try it though, didn't you? You had to roll the dice and see what happens with it.
That's the only way you figure it out. I mean, it's like the sunset pies are freaking awesome. I mean, Justin had those ones. I can't remember who he got them from, but they had the two. I think it was a leopard sunset, if I remember correctly, leopard sunset clown. That was also just absolutely amazing. But also a couple of years ago, I can't remember who it was. They made a sunset combo with spider in it, but there was a couple of other genes at play also, and that was absolutely amazing. I had the picture somewhere on my phone. I just can't find it. I tried to find it for somebody yesterday, but I just couldn't. But I think that also is a good route to go, because it brings up all the whites up on the side, which is quite cool. Same with sugar. I mean, I think maybe some sugar or calico sunset stuff would be nice.
Yeah. Mario as well. Getting greedy now, but I'd love that. I love that into Desert Ghost with a splash of pastel in there. I think looks absolutely great.
Yeah, we got some Mario in the country now. The one of our guys here has, I think, a Mario het clown or Mario DG het clown or something like that. I can't remember now. So yeah, it's around. Is it big? Is it big up there in the UK or still?
Actually, no. I can't think of anyone who's got it. I'm not saying there isn't. There probably is. There's for such a small place, the UK has a lot of ball python breeders. So I wouldn't say nobody's got it. I'm sure somebody has.
I think your guys are quite similar to us. It's a smallish community, but a lot of it.
Yeah, and the guys over here as well, and the guys over there, like everyone who you speak to who's in it absolutely loves it. And that's what I like. You don't see people who just get the feet wet with it and just dabble. You know, everyone who's doing it is absolutely mad for it.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that you got to go properly. You can't just do it like half-assed. You got to go. You got to go in and go in. Do it properly. What else? There was another question I wanted to ask you on that lines. Yes, so gun to your head, and you had to get rid of your whole collection, and you could only keep one gene. It can't be like not hexa, one single gene, and that's what you had to breed for the rest of your life.
I think but then there's nothing else you can mix into it. But
No.
So with that, then it's got to be pied because on its
Exactly
own
right.
it's so variable.
I would exactly the same answer to that. A lot of people say they just do clown because it's got a lot of variation, but not like pied. Pied's just got too much variation.
Yeah, you can breed pied to pied, and every single hatchling in that clutch will be different, completely
and
different.
Vastly different from each other. Oh, awesome. Well, is there anything else you want to chat about, or? I think we've covered quite a bit.
How long we go? An hour and a half. Time flies.
Yes.
Just trying to think if there's I haven't spoke about. Covered. Talked about a lot there.
Yeah, I know we spoke about a lot of stuff there tonight. But awesome, man. Well, from my side, then, thank you again for helping us out with when we were going to actually not do one tonight. But yeah, I really appreciate it, and Keith, I know Keith does also. Hey, it was great having you on, and we're definitely going to have you on again, for sure.
Oh, excellent! I'll look forward to it. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for having me on. Everyone who's been listening, thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, and give a shout out to your social medias and stuff if anybody wants to follow you or find you. So
you can see down there, Joe Tully at Tully's Outrageous Royals. It's the same handle on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. We've now started up on Vero as well. That's sort of a new social media that we're getting into at the minute. It might turn out to be a bit of a lost cause, but getting in early just in case it ends up being big. Okay. Cool. Well, guys, follow Joe and that, and have a look at his Instagram and YouTube channel and stuff. I'll be honest, I need to actually I want to watch your series on maternal incubation. I haven't actually watched the whole thing yet. Between that and the Dave Kaufman stuff, I need to watch a lot of videos to watch in the next day or so. Guys, and if you have any questions or comments, whatever, you can easily drop me a line. You can drop Joe a line, Keith a line, and we can see if we can make it happen if you want other guests on or questions or anything like that. So, Joe, from my side, thank you very much, and had a great time chatting with you, and hopefully again quite soon. Wicked. Thank you very much. Cheers, Gav. Bye-bye. Cheers. Bye. Well, there we go, guys. Thank you for joining, and thank you for watching, and let's go on to the next one. Hopefully next week we'll have another good guest, and we'll take it from there. From me, guys, peace out, cheers, and have a fantastic evening.